Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our presentation entitled "What Do You Know About Twice-Exceptionality? Groundbreaking Tools for Addressing the Needs of Twice-Exceptional Students." I'm Jennifer Courduff, and I work as an associate professor at Azusa Pacific University here in California. And with me is Chris Wenger.
Hello, my name is Chris Wenger, yes. I currently work as a speech-language pathologist in the high school setting, as well as supervising at a private practice. My background's in technology. I used to develop websites, so I have a pretty good background in infusing technology with education.
And I'm Sarah. I'm Sarah, and I'm a former second, third, fifth grade gifted and talented teacher in Texas, who currently does a lot of professional development with teachers because Sarah is incredibly knowledgeable about twice-exceptional students. So we're really happy that she's joined us today. So we're going to go right ahead. Oh, by the way, this is how we roll. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the question box down below, and either Chris or Sarah or I will answer your question. We don't mind being interrupted. We do like a really interactive session. Okay, so feel free. And welcome Michelle from Colorado, who's already in there. Good. All right. So twice-exceptionality. There'll be an area of giftedness, either within math or creative writing. A lot of times you'll see that gifted area in music and the arts. It's evidenced by some sort of a passion, a desire to learn, thinking outside the box, an explorer, an inventor, investigator. As teachers, we don't get to see that giftedness because it's masked with a disability. So that's what makes it exceptional. So they're gifted, and then also they have a disability, a learning or processing problem, some sort of a development. Oftentimes it can also be emotional or behavioral. And in the classroom, it's evidenced as ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, or a sensory disorder, or it could be on the autism spectrum or depression and anxiety. So I like to tell my teachers for every area of deficit, every area of disability, there's going to be a bright spot, an area of supreme creativity. And for us as educators, we have to be able to identify both the disability and the area of giftedness, because that will move our kiddos along a little bit more quickly. So one of my brothers, due to the fact that he has Tourette's, people thought that he couldn't process information properly. And actually, he now has his NFA from Ohio State University, and so he created a machine that you wear that shows how to touch on your. I have the link in here so that you can see that someone with a disability often uses that to their advantage and makes. And then from understood.org, we see 7 misconceptions to a disability, and that is not linking to me. Okay, the audio seems to turn out. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next slide because time is precious. So the next slide, I'll let you hear it from the voices of students, what they feel like being twice exceptional. So I'm going to mute and play this little video.
I hyper-focus and I have a hard time focusing.
I was just extremely anxious.
I was a complete social recluse. I would not go outside.
I wouldn't know how to join in. And it's like these basic social skills that other kids were born with, I didn't have.
If they say no man is an island, then I was a very isolated peninsula connected to the mainland by a tiny isthmus.
They didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I didn't really know what was going on at the time, to be honest.
And the copious amounts of medication didn't help either.
I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, it was a school for twice exceptional kids, whatever the heck that meant.
I always thought twice exceptional, in my mind at least, meant one of those genius computer hackers like Bill Gates who was able to start companies or hack into the Pentagon or just do something really cool, who's just not very good at parties.
0975665933446128.
Math is kind of cool the way it works and stuff. I don't know, it's also very colorful because I have that thing, I forgot what it's called, where you see the numbers and letters and colors and stuff.
I had the perception that I was different and not normal, and that changed because I learned basically there is no normal.
3.1415926535897.
$325. Yeah!
So as you can see, there's quite a bit of challenge. I wanted to show you this link from the last slide that I skipped over because I didn't have it open. There's really 7 myths. This is a website called understood.org. It's an amazing resource for parents, for students, for teachers. There's a lot of advocacy for different kinds of students with disabilities, and there's a lot of help on this particular site. So this article, myth 1, being gifted means you have to make up for a learning or attention issue. Not always. Myth 2, students can't be gifted and lack basic skills, so they're just not trying hard enough. Nope. Myth 3, 2E students aren't eligible for IEPs or 504 plans. Nope, there's a link right here to the Individuals with Disabilities in Education app that you can read up more on the rights for your students who are 2E. Myth 4, giftedness and challenges can't be addressed at the same time. Yes, they can. Myth 5, addressing weaknesses should be the top priority when helping 2E students. Well, not really if you're talking about teaching a student through their strengths. You'll get farther than looking only at their weaknesses. Myth 6, 2E students need accommodation, so they can't be in AP classes. And I know that Sarah's going to speak into this really soon during her slides. Myth 7, 2E students should be more mature than other kids their age. Well, maybe not. By the way, all of these links are available via a handout that will be sent out to you on email when we send out the presentation slides. So here's the Torettatron that my brother created that shows, gives the users twitches that would be similar to what a person with Tourette's feels like. And this, again, he's a twice exceptional student now, is an incredibly successful teacher and professor at a university in the Midwest. So you see, you have to look for the potential greatness and not just focus on the challenges. And I'm going to go back and stop sharing my screen. We got through the video. So real quick in the chat, how do you identify your 2E students? Let's see who wants to begin. Okay, no one's chatting in today, so okay, Thanks, Michelle. And what common technology or social media tools can you use to encourage creativity and productivity? Kimberly says, we don't really have a process. We're a small district with only a couple of students who meet the criteria. Interesting.
I'll jump in.
Go for it.
I can jump in. When identifying 2E kids, I feel like we were a big district here in Texas, and I think the identification process started with the teachers. And for me personally, who had 2E kids, and I was brand new when I had my first 2E student, it was looking for frustration a lot of times that they couldn't be understood. So I think for us it always started with the teacher, and then we would have a meeting from there. But one of the key things that I always looked for was like the frustration, because they were gifted, but they couldn't be understood either through writing or through speech, or they were, like you said, hyperactivity. And for me, that was an outlet of frustration.
So what kinds of technology or social media tools have you used, Sarah, with some of your kiddos?
Well, we used a lot of tools. I started out using tools on the iPad like Poplet. It was the free app to start organizing thoughts. I also used Google Docs a lot, and to have my kids, one of my students especially, be able to type because his handwriting was illegible. And then we would have he would have a friend go through and help him edit it because the speech to text was very hard. So definitely Google Docs, as simple as that may sound, was good for him.
Good, because we're going to get into that right away. Hey, Kelly, the handout came through with the websites, but we will be sending out a PDF of the presentation after the presentation today for any of you that did not get it. Okay, so don't worry about that. And we also have our emails at the end of the presentation, and you can always email us at any time to get support or help that you need. It's true, Crystal, that a lot of districts don't identify 2E kids because it's not something that's really on the radar with teacher prep or in the mainstream, and yet those kids are there. And so we always say that knowledge is power, and so the more likely we are to get out the word that 2E kids are a real deal and they need to be addressed. Their unique strengths and deficits need to be addressed, the better we'll be able to make an impact in education and help these kids and their families out. So we've identified the top 3 necessary schools for our kiddos as organization, writing skills, and study skills. So we're going to start with, as Sarah just said, organization in Google Drive. And so I'm going to turn this one over to Chris. Chris, how do you help your kids stay organized using Google Drive? Okay, Chris, I think he's not there at this particular moment. Sarah, can you speak into? Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Yay. Okay.
I'm here. I didn't realize my phone had been on mute. Sorry. So let me restate what I was just mentioning. Yeah, I feel like Google Drive is an amazing tool for all students out there, the twice-exceptional students, and targeting that organizational component is a necessity. It's and I'll do a live demonstration here briefly on what you can cover. But for those individuals who really struggle with the executive functioning difficulties, you can really hit home with staying organized, planning, and doing everything through Google Drive. So let me share my screen here, and I'll just pull up a Google Drive account. So with Google Drive, once we get in, let's type in my password here. Mine's going to be a little different because I have, let's see, I'm going to go here. So I have my Google Drive. So within my Google Drive, if you could just look up here on the top right, mine's a Google Suite for education. It's free for all K through 12 schools. If you don't have one, that's okay. It has a lot of the same information or a lot of the same tools and uses, which are going to be those for helping out with critical thinking, with communication. A huge component is going to be collaborating with others and creativity. So I'm here within my Google Drive, and it stores all of my Google Docs, all of my Google Slides, my Google Sheets, my Google Forms, websites, my calendar, my email, all within one location. So when it comes to students who really have a difficult time staying organized with their backpack or with their work and their notebooks, this is a fantastic way to really hit home with those individuals. So it stores our files securely, and you can access any of this information from any device. And when that's a fantastic tool, because if kids are working on a Chromebook at school, they can then transition over to grandma's house and use her computer, or if they go on vacation, they can use their iPad and have access to all of their stuff all in one location. The nice feature about it is, let's say that, for example, they created a Google Doc or a Google Slide. Up here in the search drive, they can type something loosely related to it. If they can't recall what the name of the if they can't find their name of an assignment from a month ago that their teacher needs now, they can type that in the search drive and it will pop right up. So for example, I did a presentation 6 months ago at the Q conference in Palm Springs, and that presentation was on practical technology for moderate to severe students. Now, that would be difficult on a desktop for a PC and Mac for me to locate that, because I'd have to search through folders and files. Within Google Drive, all I have to do is type in the name of it and it'll pop right up. So I could type in practical technology for moderate to severe students. That brings up my presentation, and it was as easy as that. So in regards to staying organized, everything's all in one location. Again, it's free, and there's unlimited storage. Unlike some of those other apps, such as like maybe Dropbox, you have to pay additional money once you reach a certain amount of storage being filled up. With the Google Drive, you do not. It's unlimited storage space, and it's all free. So it's really, really helpful. Over here where you have this little icon, and this little icon right here is going to be all of your Google Drive apps. These are your core service apps. They have a lot of other features too, but the core service apps are going to be the ones that are going to be the most useful for your students, and those are the ones that come preset. So when you click on this icon, you're going to have the core service app. So you have your Google Docs. Your Google Docs, it's free. It's a web-based word processing tool, and that allows you to create and edit documents online. And the one thing that's really neat about this versus maybe a platform, a desktop platform such as Microsoft Word, is that you can collaborate in real time. So I could be working with students on a Google Doc together while they're on their machine. I could be working on mine. So that works out pretty nice. I apologize about that background sound. I'm in the classroom right now. Didn't realize the loudspeaker was on. Google Sheets is another web-based spreadsheet tool. This is really similar to Excel from Microsoft. You can create and edit spreadsheets online. Again, you can collaborate in real time. It's great for data analysis, amazing tool for organization. And just a couple other ones that are on here. Again, it's all in one location. Students' email, they can have right here. Slides is just like PowerPoint. That's a web-based presentation tool that allows you to create and edit presentations online. And then the bottom one here is Sites. It's a free and easy way to create and share websites as well as web pages. So it's a pretty neat tool for all things staying organized for our students. And you click the More button and you have some more features. You can customize it if needed. You can enable and disable them. That's through the admin console through your settings. And it's just a very valuable tool. So that is Google Drive. Let me get back here to our presentation and get you guys back in. So,
here's what's...
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and so yeah, that image right here for our PowerPoint is all of these things I was just briefly describing. So what Jennifer is going to describe now is another amazing tool that is also online that is real similar. It's Google. She'll go more into that. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Jennifer.
Great, Chris. Thank you so much. So this is pretty new in 2018. Office 365 has been around for a while, but Microsoft has really kicked up the accessibility features and ways to streamline the sharing of information in Office 365. As you know, some schools and districts are going to Office 365 and not using Google Drive. So we wanted to show you that there is an option for those of you that are in Office 365. What we love about Office 365 is it has the similar tools to Google and with the similar uses. All of the apps you can see down on this slide. But now you can get the Microsoft OneDrive app on iPads or Android devices. And when you have that OneDrive app on an iPad, there's a scan feature now which allows documents to be scanned in just like the Office Lens app, but it will automatically create a PDF of the scanned document, and then it saves it in a folder in OneDrive. So the student can then go into the folder, open up the PDF within OneDrive, and by pressing the pencil icon, it brings up a toolbar where the student can annotate, type, and draw on the PDF. It's great for completing paper-based worksheets digitally because now the student can type and draw right on the PDF with the iOS keyboard or a different accessible keyboard. So they can also use speech to text to dictate their thoughts and have iPad transcribe the thoughts using the built-in speech recognition on the iPad. So also, Apple has support for the Apple Pencil and the Logitech Crayon on the basic iPad for 2018, which can be used to open the OneDrive app. It's all in one streamlined package. What you need to do as a teacher if you're going to start using the OneDrive with your students is make a folder within the student's OneDrive app that is shared between the student and the teacher, and then if you want the parent involved, you would also need to share that out with the parent. That way, when the student accesses the worksheet as a PDF, he or she annotates it, saves it, and it automatically will save back to that same shared folder, lowering the frustration level exponentially for students in accessing files and annotating files. They just exit the PDF, and OneDrive takes care of uploading it to the cloud, and then the teacher has access to the completed assignment in seconds. So this has really eliminated the need for any other apps for completing paper-based worksheets digitally, and there's no need anymore to email files back and forth between the student and the teacher or between the student, the parent, and the teacher because everything's handled in the cloud. So it mimics or it's similar to Google Drive in that they're shared in the same way, they're shared to folders in the same way, and so it just cuts down, again, on that stress in trying to get worksheets digitized and then annotated and then back and forth. And it's available for iOS and Android-based devices. It's a great step up for Microsoft. Brian says PDFs created in Scan in OneDrive can be read aloud to the student automatically. Chris, do you know the answer to that? There should be a text-to-speech feature within an iPad to read PDFs. It should be able to be read by using a screen reader software. And I'll wait to, maybe Chris has muted again. But I am done with OneDrive, and I'll find the answer to you, Brian, within the context of this presentation. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who's going to talk to us about writing support using MindMeister.
Okay, so one of the tools that I used with my students was called MindMeister, and it allows students to digitally brain map. So when you're talking about giving them some sort of template or circle map or whatever they might use for expository or narrative writing, doing it digitally helps kids organize their thoughts, especially if you have those kids who erase and redraw the lines and the bubbles and it gets really messy. What's awesome about MindMeister is you can add color, lines, bubbles, stickers. You can sign up with their Google account. They also have MindMeister in Google Docs in the drive that Chris was talking about, but it looks a little bit different. The one, if you actually go to the MindMeister website, and I'm going to show you that, it's a lot more interactive in my opinion. So let me show you. And you can sign up with a Gmail or a Google account. So so this is the screenshot of just what I'm going to share with you so that you'll have it. Okay, so this is what MindMeister looks like, and when I was messing around with it, these are some things I did. So I was able to, all of these little bubbles that you see, I created using, let me start. So here's 2E presentation, a bubble. You right-click on a bubble to edit it. So if I right-click, can you see that, what I'm doing? Yes? Okay. So I can right-click to edit. I can edit this caption that I made. I can go over and I can change the color of the text or the, make it smaller. If you make them, you can use arrows, to connect ideas. So these little fun arrows connect the ideas, and they're up here at the top of your screen. Add a relationship between ideas. So I added the relationship between right-click on a bubble to this green bubble right here. So when you have kids who have lots of crazy ideas, these little lines right here will connect. If you make a mistake, you can right-click on the bubble or use the back arrow up here. This will delete what you just did. You can use the toolbar right here on the right to add stickers, change the font, and add bubble color. So and you can even insert videos and pictures, which is really cool. So I added this little check mark, add flags. You can, and then if you want to just add a new topic, you just right-click and you would click Add Topic, and it'll come out from my original bubble. You can add a floating topic, which is what this is over here. So if I had a new idea, I could stick it right here, and then I could go over here and I could add one of these cool little arrows to my new idea to connect my ideas. It looks more complicated than it is. And kids are resilient, so they'll just sit over here and pick all the stickers, and they'll figure out how to change the color. And once they have had their 5 minutes to mess around with it, they'll start to see that they can connect ideas with colors for those kids who like to use color. That's what I do. I organize by color. So yeah, this is a really nice tool. Like I said, you can use it from the actual MindMeister website, or you can go through the Google Docs itself, and it is an add-on. And I'm going to talk about add-ons later.
Okay, Sarah, Michelle wants to know if the free version provides enough for the student. Are there enough?
Yes. So the one that I was just showing you, that is the free version. I do not have the upgraded version. I just signed in as a teacher, and that was everything that I had. And it saves automatically. I'm sorry, I'll share my screen one more time with you and show you where it saves. So when I logged into MindMeister, this is what my screen looks like, and I was able to go right back over here and click on my 2E presentation. They also have templates that you can start out with, and like I said, you don't need to upgrade. It's just right here, and if you're doing it digitally, that's all they need is for it to be on the computer. And go back. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to email me too. It's a great tool to have your kids, if you're going to use it with them, give them some time to learn it on their own too, because they're going to know it better than you will within 5 minutes. And I think if nobody has any more questions, I think it's back to you, Jennifer.
And it helps if I'm not muted. It's
yeah.
back to me. So Brian, I answered his question in the chat, but I did a quick Google search, and within OneDrive, if you download an app called Read Aloud for OneDrive, then it gives you that screen reader capability within OneDrive. There's some limitations unless you have that add-on at this point. Read Aloud is an add-on for OneDrive to make sure that text-to-speech happens for your kiddos. And speaking of note-taking and annotating, I wanted to quickly remind you, because I feel like I talk about Read and Write in every presentation. Read and Write is an accessibility extension to use within Google Chrome. And I have the link in here for you. But what's cool about Read and Write is that it's just on your Chrome browser. And within Read and Write, you're able to, you see when you click the little purple icon, there's this toolbar here that allows you to highlight in blue, pink, yellow, or green different areas on a web-based document. And then once you click this little circle here that has the colors on it, Google will group the phrases by color and then put them onto a separate Google document so that so the kids can highlight different things in different colors and then have a Google Doc created with those words grouped into similar colors. It also has speech to text, text to speech. It has a translator, so you can highlight text and it will translate it from English to Spanish. It can, within the text to speech, it will read the web page out loud for the student, and then you can stop or pause as they're going through and if they need more help. It also has this icon here that looks like a little scaffold, which simplifies the web page for the student. So if the language is too difficult, it'll cut it down to the most essential pieces of information on that website so students aren't quite as frustrated and overwhelmed. So Trish asks, are all these features free for students? Well, teachers get a free subscription to Read and Write using Google Chrome. And then I think it's a very low cost. I think it's like $100 for a school for students to get it. It's so minimal. That price might have gone up. I haven't checked in a couple months, but it's not huge for students to get those accounts. And so, Chris, did you or Sarah, did you want to speak to Read and Write at all as an extension?
Oh, other than what you had mentioned, for the study skills and the benefits that come along with it, I think it's an amazing tool to at least explore. If you haven't heard of it or haven't used it, they do provide it for you, for educators, and it's just at least worth exploring. I think it's an amazing option out there for our kids.
Thanks. Okay, well, now we're on to EasyBib.
All right, so EasyBib is an add-on tool that is free in Google Docs that allows your students to cite their sources correctly. So I used this all the way down when I taught third grade just to get kids in the habit of giving credit to those who deserve the credit and to know that it's not their own work. It's very easy. I'm going to actually share my screen with you so that you can see how it works. But if you go to your, I actually have a document. If you go to an untitled document and you click add-ons. I already have the add-on, but if you click get add-on, you can search for it right here called EasyBib, and then you just click, normally you would click where it says free, and you would add it, and it is a free add-on. And you're going to go through a couple of steps, and then once it's installed, you're going to go back up here to add-ons, and you're going to open it up. So manage bibliography. So it's going to pop up here over on the right-hand side. You can cite a book, a journal article, and a website very easily. So what my students always did is if they were already at the website, like MindMeister, we learned you have to click on the button website. That was one of the hardest things for them to do, is remember to do that. I had a poster or an anchor chart in my room that showed the shortcuts, Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste, as we were learning what those shortcuts were, so they didn't always have to right-click, or you can right-click. And you click search, and it's going to find it for you. So here it is. It's going to cite the MindMeister website. You're going to select it, and then you just add it to your bibliography, and it even gives you a title, Works Cited, and it does it in the correct MLA formatting. I think that you can edit the features if you're looking for it to be cited a different way. But this is really nice, and it saves automatically, just like all other Google Docs, in within their Google Drive, like Chris was talking about. And so it's all in one place. You don't have lots of cluttered papers everywhere. You don't have note cards with sources. And so something that I had my students get into the habit of was coming into their Google Drive and opening up their Works Cited page and adding websites as they used them. Like I said, you can also do the journal article, book, and right here is where you can change it for, if they're actually doing APA style or Chicago. It's all right here, and it'll cite it correctly for you. Go back. Sorry. Yeah, and so that's EasyBib.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll kind of take over on, and Jennifer, if you wanted to chime in, or Sarah, on the Google extension, feel free to as well. I'm going to share my screen and give a quick demonstration of the extension. So essentially first let's show how to access this thing. So if you look up here, doesn't support in here. Up on the top left where your apps are at within your Google Drive, you can get to the web store. So when you're in the web store, you just type in page marker and add that as an extension, and that'll put it up in your bookmark bar. So right here where it says search the store, this is where you're going to find all of those extensions and applications. Most of them are free. So we've got page marker, and then you'll see an icon that says add to Chrome. All of these are only used within the Google Chrome browser, as we mentioned. You can't use it through Mozilla Firefox, Safari, Microsoft Internet Explorer, anything like that. So you want to make sure you're using the Chrome browser, and then you add it to Chrome, and that'll put it up on the top. And I'm going to show you how to use it. So what we'll do is we're going to use a website called readworks.org. Let me log in here. So similar to Newsela, this provides free articles, and it's tier-based on Lexile and grades, and you can target all different topics. So what I'm going to do is the article a day set, and these are short sets for students that can read articles every day. So if I'm reading an article to a student, the page marker is located up on the top right. So if you look straight up here, it's that little red pen that's up in my bookmarks bar in the extension section. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You can mark the page and annotate it as you read along with students. And you can circle on pictures, basically on any website. You can change the thickness of the highlighting tool and the color of the highlighting tool. So for now, what we're going to do is we'll tell the students that we want them to underline all of the words, all of the verbs within it, so, or all of the nouns, or anything that has to deal with birds can be a different color. So I can pick a different color, and we'll close that out. So seabirds, every time I would see the word bird, seabird, puffins, albatrosses, terns, so on and so forth. So it's just a really easy way to highlight and show what's on the page. As you saw, I was using it earlier when we were using Google Drive. This little toolbox can be moved around if it's in your way. I like to use it for presentation purposes too, so if you're presenting in front of a large group of students, you can really hone in on some concepts. You can kind of circle what is needed. So seabirds are more special because they're, oops, that's a little too thick, so we're going to clear that. And I'm going to change the thickness. So we can say that seabirds are equipped because due to the ocean life, they've got large wings and feet that are used as fins as well as paddles, so on and so forth. So that's the page marker, and you can use it on any website that you're on. I find it to be a really handy tool for our students. So I'll bring it back in, and if there are any questions on that, let me know. If not, we're going to move on to our next slide for creative outlets for our students. And we'll pass it on over to Sarah.
Yes, because I want to provide some context here. So coding, Minecraft, these are all really great resources for students, and they know the technology more readily than we do, and they're not afraid to break it, and they're not afraid to try it. So yeah, let's pass it over to Sarah. Sarah, you want to talk about coding and Minecraft with your kids?
Yes. So when I taught 5th grade, I used, we were doing Civil War projects, and I didn't just want the paper and pencil type projects. I wanted to offer those to students that's what fit their personality. That's what they like to do. But I had a lot of students who enjoyed video games, Minecraft, and so they built a Civil War map using Minecraft. And then depending on the device, they either shared their screen or Mirror Play from Apple products, and then they were able to walk us through their Civil War map. So it was a great way for my very unengaged students to become engaged in creating a project for the Civil War. That's how I used it for one of my projects. And then coding, we did something called Hour of Code for a year, where it was for students to, the same thing, for them to have this creative outlet to learn how to build video games, write code. And I also did something called Genius Hour in my classroom for all of my gifted students. And some of them who are new to coding would use code.org, and some of them were ready to just start building video games for their projects, and they used Scratch, but a lot of them liked FlowLab a lot better, and it was a place for them to create a video game within the confines of my classroom, and it was something that they were learning to do something that wasn't reading and writing and science and math. It was something different for them, but it was an educational project. A lot of them were creating video games on bullying or friendship, or their ideas were very wild. But allowing them to do that, it just got them out of the sit in the classroom and just be reading. And I was a reading teacher, and so a lot of times that's what we did, is we were reading articles a lot. And so this is a great, the coding, the FlowLab, which isn't on here, and Minecraft are great ways to engage your students, and you can do it in an educational way. It doesn't just have to be, free time, essentially. It could be something you could tie it to a project.
Perfect. And I want to bring up Connect Ed. If you type in Connect Ed, you will come up with a Pilates website, so don't do that. I'm going to share my screen. It's actually tied really to Xbox Connect. So if you do a Google search for Xbox Connect for education and you have access to an Xbox, there are just hundreds of games that can be used using the Xbox for your kiddos who are kinesthetic learners and or have trouble staying seated and really need to be physical about their learning, Edutopia came out with, this has been from 2012, and it's still, there's just tons of resources. You can build your own lessons. You can look at the lessons that have been built by teachers, but they've got lessons for math, so kids can learn math skills with their bodies, and they can really fully get into graphing and more complicated math activities using the Xbox. There are also history lessons and science lessons and English lessons. So many that I can't just go to one website and say, here's where it all is. But if you type in Xbox plus education, Xbox plus Connect for education, you'll come up with just hundreds of games that you can help, that your kiddos can play to help reinforce their learning using their body, which is awesome. So, cool. Let's see, where are we? And so other ideas for video production, you can have your kids create videos. They love to video themselves. They love to see themselves on videos. So when I was still back in the classroom, I would have my students create a dance or some sort of a video that would teach content to other students in the class, and it kept them moving, which with those ADHD kids, they really need to be kept moving. And with those kids with musical strengths, they'd really rather sing about it, record themselves singing about it, and play it to the class than just sitting there with the worksheet. And so having the kids get up and use these social media tools and these mobile devices to produce content and report back on content in meaningful ways really, really increases the level of motivation and engagement you have for those kiddos. Any questions at this point before we continue?
I could briefly cover, maybe just for 1 minute, on code.org. It's a really awesome website, too, for critical thinking and for engaging learners and just giving the basic concepts for coding. And there's a lot of uses outside of just understanding coding that you can use it for. So if you go onto their website, code.org, you can give it a try. It's free. They can sign in with an account. So I'll show you a basic thing of coding. So they wanted to learn how to code a game of Star Wars. They can give it a try, and it'll give them the description. So they need scrap metal here. We're going to click OK. As you can see, my coding in the workspace station says when run, move right. So when I click the run button, my BB-8 character is going to move to the right one space. I need to make a move one more space, so I have to add that code. So I'm going to click on my move right icon, slide it into my workspace, and hit run. And he moved over 2 spaces. I just wrote 2 lines of code. It develops the students into writing their own game, and it's accessible for all students. Very easy, super cool. They can create a Frozen game. They can create Minecraft. That's all built within the website, and it's all free, and it keeps track of the students. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. If you have any questions, just feel free to chime in on there, and I can hopefully answer those for you.
We have time, Chris. Do you want to go over quizzes?
Quizzes is similar to Kahoot. The thing I like about quizzes is that it's non-competitive. When you use Kahoot, you have a group of individuals looking up on one monitor, and they feel like they're competing against each other. Versus quizzes, it puts the quiz on their device in front of them, and you can set a lot of different settings. It's highly interactive, and it's highly engaging for all learners. So for the twice exceptional student, I find it to be a fantastic tool. The nice thing about it is you can insert any picture from any of your own pictures. You can customize them all. And then what's another really cool feature is that your answers can be images. They don't just have to be text-based. So for those who are extremely smart students but maybe have maybe they're dyslexic or they have a print disability, this would be a fantastic tool to engage those learners as well and target their needs. The nice thing about it is that You can use any device as long as you have access to internet, and you can have any amount of users on it as well. So the kids, the students, if they have their cell phones or they have a tablet or a Chromebook, they only have to have a login. They don't have to have a login. They just have to have the pin that you put up. So I'll give you since we have a couple more minutes, I'm going to share my screen and I'll log into the website. So let's go to quizzes, and I'll log in on my account. Once you come to your account, I'll click on my quizzes here. So I have created one. Let me give you a good example. Here we go. AbleNet demonstration for twice exceptional students. When I click on that, I've created 6 questions. That was just more of an image-based one. When I play this for the students on their devices, that you can set the parameters to where it's time constricted or not. I like to not use time on that just so the students don't feel pressured and they don't get anxiety from having to answer with a certain time frame. But as you can see, I can differentiate the questions. I can use images for my answers. Cool thing too is that, let's go to edit. So when you're creating your own quiz for the students, you can search from a pool of millions of other questions that are in there. So for example, if the topic is on photosynthesis and I wanted to add that to my quiz, I can click on that and type in photosynthesis. Search it to other quizzes. This quiz someone created. So which organelle performs photosynthesis? If I like that question, I can add that to my quiz. It eliminates having to create or reinvent the wheel. Or that lesson planning can sometimes be take up a lot of time, and this is an easy way to create your own customized educational material in an easy way. So it's really easy. So I could just hit add on one of these, and you can, there we go. I added my 7th question. The nice thing too is I don't have to limit it to just 4 answers. I can add a 5th one, or I can narrow it down to have a selection of just 2 answer choices depending on my selected or target audience. And it's very customizable, as I mentioned. I think it's a fantastic tool for everybody. And again, this is my preference over Kahoot. Don't get me wrong, I love Kahoot as well, but for the students that are with twice exceptionality and for the population that I serve, it takes away the frustration, anxiety, and the tension that can sometimes come along with taking quizzes. This is more of like a game. And the other really cool thing is that once the students are finished with the quiz or finished with the game that they're playing, it keeps a record of how they all did. You can print that out really easily, and you can use that in your IEP meeting and say, okay, the student has met their 90% target of, identifying categories or identifying synonyms or antonyms or whatever it might be that you put in there. This tool is as powerful as your creativity. So I'm going to hit finish quiz here, and we'll get back to our presentation.
So on a previous slide, there's articles and resources available through hyperlinks to this presentation, but also through the handout that was sent out or will be sent out with the a PDF of the PowerPoint presentation for your review and convenience. We just really want to thank you for spending 55 minutes with us today. We feel like twice exceptionality is a big deal and should be addressed more widely in education, and we're so glad that you feel the same. It's wonderful. We have put our emails up on the screen, and so feel free to reach out to all of us or any of us on email, and we'd be more than happy to help you find a resource, answer a question, or chat with you.
Absolutely,
Chris,
yeah.
Sarah.
I'll make.
Yeah, and I would like to say that I think that when I was new, these tools would have been very overwhelming to me, but I think for a twice exceptional student, especially one of the ones that I had, giving them these tools and especially letting them take the time to learn them will eliminate all of that frustration and anxiety, like what Chris was talking about. They will it will be easier for them than it might be for you. Some of the tools that I use in my classroom were always hard for me to use, but this is a generation of technology generation, and it will definitely eliminate a lot of the frustration for them.